Story 1. If you are truly doing a good deed, the focus should be on helping, not on getting likes. If the camera is on before the kindness starts, was it ever really kindness? Story 2. I do not consider it a good deed. I feel a good deed is done without any expectations of repayment or recognition. At that point, I consider it a transaction. Story 3. I think it's weird and narcissistic, but it's still good that the deed was done. Attention as an incentive certainly makes people willing to do good things. When I was growing up in a small Baptist church, we were told that our good deeds had to be done in secret to count as good deeds in God's eyes. Even though I don't hold those sorts of beliefs anymore, it still feels icky when I see people doing performative charity. Story 4. I try to be pragmatic about this stuff. Would it be better if they just did a good deed for the sake of it? Yes, for sure. That said, if it results in an overall positive for the people involved, then I think it's still a good thing on balance. As an example, the homeless guy that just got a hot meal and warm clothes probably doesn't care much about the guy who gives it to him for recognition. He is probably just happy to be fed and warm. Story 5. That depends greatly on why they are doing it. If they are trying to make themselves look good, that is awful. If they are trying to draw attention to some issue that needs fixing, it is potentially helpful. There is a gradient between those two. Story 6. They're attention junkies. They're taking something that's supposed to be a good deed and turning it into something they think they should get a lot of likes or praise from. You should get your gratification from the fact of helping someone in need. In reality, you shouldn't be concerned if you're able to post it and pretty much say, "Hey, look what I did. I'm a good person." It's got to come from the human soul that feels no need to film it. Story 7. The result that I see from this is more people doing it. The best example of this is the cleanup challenges that a bunch of people did. A lot more valuable to society than doing planks in weird places for internet points. Story 8. There was a study I remember that claimed that the effect of performing a good deed is the same as the effect of witnessing a good deed. I usually assume that when the video focuses on the person doing the good deed, it's to remind people that anyone can spend their spare time and money doing direct mutual aid efforts. But when the video makes a whole sentimental moment about an individual receiving a large amount of money, it feels exploitative and unnecessary. Story 9. Tacky. Performative giving is so cringe. It detracts from the good deed and makes it a self-serving act. The person doing it might as well jump up and down begging, "Look at me! Look at me!" I really despise it. Story 10. I mean, it's better than not doing good deeds, but worse than just doing a good deed because it is selfish. But at least good deeds are being done, I guess. Story 11. I am always a skeptic and ask the important question of, why are they filming this? There are so many lies and hidden truths behind influencers' videos and stories. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the good deed videos were completely scripted and staged with actors. Story 12. It depends on whether they are filming the person they are helping. If it is something like filming themselves cleaning up trash, then it is okay and better than not doing it. But if it is showing the person they are helping, then it becomes uncomfortable. Story 13. Cringe. Just be nice to be nice because other humans deserve it, because it's a small contribution to make the world a better place. If you need to ask a homeless person for $1 to call your mom who is dying of cancer in 4 minutes and he gives it to you, and you film it, forget you. Instead, just help the guy out without complicating their life and posting it online. Story 14. It is either clout chasing, which is cool. They did a good deed, but it is still a crappy thing to do. Or, less likely, they are doing it to spread positivity and incentivize others to do good as well. Story 15. I understand if they are paying money to give out things, as the views fund their expenses. A great quote to capture this is, "Character is who you are when no one is watching." Story 16. I feel like if your focus is the deed itself, you shouldn't need the attention. Not to be a Bible thumper, but don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing feels applicable. Story 17. My guess is that they are doing it to portray themselves as good people, although I still appreciate the fact that people or animals were helped after all, so I cannot really hate on it that much. Story 18. Certainly no honor in it. It's like handing out Bibles instead of food in third world countries. But if it's truly a good deed and not just faked for views, and they follow up on that deed, for example, rescuing a stray animal, then regardless of whether it was done for selfish reasons or views, a good deed was still done. Story 19. I don't mind it. It's better than people filming themselves pranking others or being mean to others. Besides, if it starts a movement, then that means there's more kindness going around in the world. Story 20. Depends on the reason why. If they are documenting their charity project to spread awareness and raise funds, then I think it's okay. If they film it for any other reason than that, I don't feel very good about it. Seems off somehow. Story 21. I loathe it. How many saving a puppy on the side of the road videos are there? So let me get this straight. The person sees the puppy in high grass from a couple 100 feet away, always on a back road in the country. They are already filming when they drive up to it. They get out while narrating how they saw the puppy, and they film themselves saving the dog they drove out in the middle of nowhere to save, so they could put it all on TikTok or Instagram. Got it. Story 22. If we share when we go on a trip, when we buy a Ferrari or eat in an expensive place, why shouldn't we also share when we are doing a good thing? What if it could influence someone to do the same? Story 23. There are a lot of people who do it for attention, and that is weird as anything. But there are people with large followings who do it to use the proceeds from the videos to help fund more good deeds, and I'm okay with that. Story 24. Cloud chasing most of the time. Virtue signaling almost always. Good deeds are what they are because you do them expecting nothing in return. You do them because it's the right thing to do. If you film yourself and then post it online, you take most of what made the deed good out of the equation. One can argue that some do it to inspire others, but the thing about goodness is that we're all capable of it, and it's usually easy to do. Those who need motivation or to feel inspired to do good, they're not right. Story 25. Used to volunteer at homeless shelters and hospitals. These are very similar to people who show up for 30 minutes so they can say they do volunteer work in their free time to impress others. Story 26. If they are doing good deeds for vulnerable people and portray those people with dignity, then I do not mind it as much. Sometimes filming it brings in donations or funding that can help even more people. Story 27. It's mortifying. I have a friend who sent me pictures of her kids visiting a random senior's home at Christmas. I do not find this cute, or sweet, or exemplary. If you have to brag about doing a good deed, it almost negates it in my humble opinion. Story 28. Well, good deeds are good, but obviously the motivation is self-aggrandizement rather than altruism in that case. If the deed or donation is useful, then let them do their thing about it. But now you know about their character. Story 29. People film themselves doing good deeds so that the money obtained from social media engagement can be used to continue providing the resources necessary to continue the good deeds. It may come off as superficial, but how else would they get the money if they aren't rich themselves? Sure, you could argue it's also clout chasing, but it's better than doing nothing at all. Story 30. If you need to film and broadcast yourself doing a good deed, you are not really a good person, and it is just stroking your ego to make yourself feel good. Narcissism at its finest. Story 31. This is sort of baiting out a specific kind of answer, but I'll bite. I don't agree with that Jesus guy about everything, but on this subject he nailed it. They got their reward, the attention they wanted. Story 32. Depends entirely on the specifics, the situation, and the individual. For instance, if someone was building houses for free and wanted to document the process, or if someone was cleaning up a park or beach and wanted to show the difference, I think that is perfectly fine. If someone is doing a short-form video, like less than 30 seconds, and wants to present a good deed but all the focus is on the person doing it rather than the beneficiary, then, well, it doesn't sit quite right. But a good deed has been done, so it's not all bad. I get the impression the original poster's question can be distilled into two sub-questions. Does publicly sharing a good deed somewhat sour or taint the initial goodness of the act? And are good deeds only good if the person's intentions are 100% selfless or sacrificial in some way? Overall, I think it is okay. In the world, it is so easy to only see misery and misfortune. Giving goodness and positive interactions more of the spotlight seems better than not. Story 33. I think it's very strange that the deed itself was not fulfilling enough, but rather the goal was social validation, which then means that person is just exploiting that situation for their own narcissism, which makes it gross. It's exploiting poverty for self-enrichment. Like Mr. Beast. Story 34. Classless, attention-seeking, and contrived, but if they would not have done the good deed regardless, or it makes them do more, or it influences people to do a good deed too, then it was worth it anyway. Story 35. Yes, it might be for attention. However, someone who really needed their help received it and probably would not go to bed hungry that night. Sometimes those videos inspire other people to do the same, and the creators become more popular because of views and shares. This leads to more donations and helps more people. It's a cycle, really, but the most important thing is that those who needed help received it. Story 36. It's weird. I don't watch them personally. I feel like a lot of them are fake anyway. But let's say there is a person who is devoid of morality. They discover they have a path to easy fame and fortune. That path is recorded kindness. They record and share a video that gets them likes, shares, and eventually money. They continue this cycle of donating, profiting, and using profits to fund more donations, which creates more profits, which funds more donations. Is this a bad thing? Sure, maybe this person, now a millionaire, could do more than toss $100 at a homeless person, or could donate it somewhere that you approve of rather than donate it somewhere you don't, but also, he could be doing nothing. People in need have benefited from his behavior, regardless of the fact that he personally doesn't care, and regardless of the fact that he technically could do more. It sits in a weird place in society where we can ask, are there layers to doing good, or is doing good on its own enough? Story 37. Usually, it seems off and inappropriate, and throws questions on their motive for even doing the good deed. However, there is the odd instance where filming the situation and the good deed can bring about publicity, community conversation, and hopefully encourage further good actions. Some terrible situations need to be talked about and have people bring attention to them. Story 38. 50-50. On one hand, it feels like a look at me, I'm such a good person. On the other hand, with so many videos of people being jerks in public, it's nice to see someone break the mold and do something nice, especially if it's not for attention. Kids imitate what they see, and I'd rather a kid imitate a person doing genuine good deeds as opposed to someone like the Paul brothers. Story 39. I do feel it completely invalidates the good deed, even if it was a truly selfless act. The unfortunate truth is that no good deed can be filmed by the person doing it while it's happening. Now, if it's an accidental filming of it via a security camera or a random bystander, then sure. Story 40. See also, posting on Reddit when you clean up litter. I mean, good on you for volunteering to do something pretty much nobody else will, but try not to break your own arm patting yourself on the back. Story 41. They are virtue signaling. They want everyone to see what a great person they are. On the other hand, there are some people doing great things and filming them. They do not make themselves the focus, however. If the giver is often in the video and drops their name often, it is likely an ego thing. Most people doing good deeds do not feel a need to advertise it or identify themselves. Story 42. I'd rather they did good things for good reasons, but with the world the way it is, whatever reason people come up with to do good things, I'll take it. Story 43. They are doing it to make themselves feel and look good. I would be humiliated if I were in the other person's position. They never blur out their faces. Who would want footage of themselves in a vulnerable state blasted all over the internet? Story 44. I am suspicious of the motivation when they do that. I believe people with a good heart do good deeds spontaneously most of the time. There are no audiences and no thanks are expected. I was raised that you do the right thing, even when no one is watching. Story 45. Like the post in my feed just below this one of a person handing out pizza to hungry people while being filmed? Yeah, a good deed is a good deed, but the reason behind the good deed is questionable. Story 46. On one hand, it is probably virtue signaling with no real intent to actually help people, but rather to gain attention from helping said people. On the other hand, spreading positivity and showing how you can change someone's day in a matter of a minute is part of what helps this world become a bit kinder. The problem is when people post videos of doing good deeds just to pull those good deeds right out from under them with stipulations and strings they never mentioned attached. Story 47. Trash people. If you do something charitable and put in the extra effort to video it or go around telling everyone about it, not only did you do it for the wrong reasons, but you also show your true colors regarding where your priorities are and admit to the world that you're only this person for attention. Story 48. You can appreciate the good deed and be disgusted by the narcissism of recording it. You don't even need to watch it and give them a click or advertising revenue. Just move on. Story 49. It cheapens the whole thing. I'm not sure if it's even intended to start a chain reaction of good deeds, but it comes across as attention-seeking and looking for media validation more than anything else. Someone is at their lowest point. They fought battles we will never know about, and suddenly, some useless, clout-chasing influencer wannabe is shoving a phone in their face as they hand them a meal. I imagine it would be a mixture of gratitude for the resources while also a feeling of, leave me alone or at least treat me like a human being, not a sideshow freak. I don't mind people who film themselves partaking in or hosting an organization that is a consistent resource for people, filming involved or not. Because I feel like those actually have a message of what a difference community work can make, and giving props to all the people who made the organization possible, the volunteers who cook, provide clothing, set up pavilions, etc. As long as the people profiting from the organization are aware of the filming and either consent to being filmed or are blurred out for privacy. Versus the people who just want to run around like a cat with a mouse going, look at the good thing I did. I'm such a good person. Tell me how good I am.